A United Nations team visited Palestinian Islamic Jihad leader in the West Bank, Bassem al-Saadi, in Ophel prison in Israel, as one of its top regional officials warned against another outbreak of Gaza violence. UN Special Coordinator for the Middle East peace process, Tor Venezuelan, tweeted about the visit, reiterating that the ceasefire in Gaza is very fragile. The Palestinian Islamic Jihad has insisted that Israel promised to release al-Saadi and administrative detainee Khalil al-Auda. The Israel Prisons Service Director of Medicine said that al-Auda should be transferred to a public hospital immediately. He was brought to the emergency room on Tuesday, but was released after he refused treatment as part of his ongoing hunger strike, now surpassing 150 days. Islamic Jihad has warned that fighting will break out if the prisoners are not released. Israeli officials have denied that they agreed to those terms. And now with us in studio, Middle East correspondent Ariel Oseran. So, Ariel, give us a bit of an update what the situation is with these two figures who have become very important now, also with the larger implications of that fragile ceasefire that's been in place for a few days now between Israel and Palestinian Islamic Jihad.
Right, Alex. So we're talking, as you mentioned, about two administrative detainees, Bassem al-Saadi and Khalil al-Auda. Now, to just explain what an administrative detainee is, it's when a suspect is jailed by Israeli security authorities by up to 6 months without trial and without the state specifying what the suspicions are. Now, al-Saadi is the PIJ leader in the northern West Bank. His arrest last week sparked tensions between Israel and the PIJ that erupted in the 3-day conflict. Al-Auda, he's from the village of Adna near Hebron, and he's been on hunger strike for nearly 5 months. Now, why are we talking about these two individuals? Because in the Egyptian-mediated ceasefire struck between Israel and PIJ, Egypt vowed to, quote, according to the agreement, work for the release of the two prisoners. But as you described, time appears to be of the essence here, as doctors say that Al-Auda's health condition is rapidly deteriorating, and he could potentially suffer immediate brain damage. Now, as for al-Saadi, a military court in the West Bank today extended his detention by 6 days, and next week an Egyptian delegation is expected to arrive in Israel to look into the condition of the two detainees and to try and work for their release.
And when we're looking at these two prisoners, we have seen hunger strikers in the past in Israeli prisons, sometimes being able to get better treatment for that when the situation starts to deteriorate. But looking at Bassem al-Saadi, Israel releasing him now, that would sort of be an own goal, no, for what they achieved during that operation with Islamic Jihad. It would be a victory for Islamic Jihad.
Right, so Israeli leaders are saying, the Minister of Interior Security, Omer Bar-Lev, said that al-Saadi's release is not going to happen.
Right.
That's a controversial statement, given that in the agreement it doesn't say that Israel vows to release them. It does say, though, that Egypt vows to work for their release. So that's like legal terminology that does give Israel some wiggle room. But if there is no development in that field, this could reignite tensions. Now, in general, as you alluded to in your question, the issue of administrative detainees on hunger strike is something that is used as a card to rally the Palestinian public to the cause. This is something that the PIJ has used in the past. Now, out of 4,000 Palestinians held in Israeli prisons, just over 670 of them are administrative detainees. And throughout the years, we have seen some of them announce hunger strike, go on hunger strike, and this has consolidated the Palestinian activists and the Palestinian street to call for their release, and it has been used to threat further tensions. And so this is another example of that situation. And given just the arrest of al-Saadi was what laid the groundwork for this latest escalation last week, this could pose another source of tension, and Israel, Egypt, and the PIJ are going to try and figure out how this can be solved without or at least Israel and Egypt, are going to try and see how this can be resolved without leading to another round of fighting.
Egypt, the ever-present mediator when it comes to issues between Israel and the factions in Gaza, and at it once again. We'll see how that develops. Ariel Oseran, Middle East correspondent, thank you very much for that analysis.